Tay stars had forgotten its shape. Drifting at T edge of galactic memory, encased in T ice of time, T ghost ship floated, dark, inert, unresponsive. No beacon. No signal. No sound. It had been 22 sand years since a human and last two set its Yule. And now something stirred. A faint pulse blinked witten T ert of T ancient vessel, so low frequency tat it passed unnoticed by nearly every species tat passed nearby. Only T oldest machines, and only toes still listening for a dead civilization's final whisper, could even register it. But one species had not forgotten. One species had waited. And now Tay were coming. Tay Council of RA Tour received T alert first, a whisper across T black, anomalous energy emission origin, unclassified region 99X coordinates long ignored. The ruin Tay assumed. A decayed relic drifting in cold gravitational orbit. Perhaps Anoter failed colonial station or a derelict biosip from one of T extinct empires. But when T name added to T coordinates was translated, silence followed. Designation, Terran vessel, UNS Revenant. Tay word Terran, it like a neural blade. It sent sivers down spines, triggered ancient lockdowns and forgotten databanks. Tay RA Tour were old, Tay remembered war and T war humans had ended with silence. Impossible, murmured IG speaker Jortal, his voice scraping T inner walls of T Camber Dome. Tay are extinct. Gone before our world even unlocked atomic flame. No species tat dies leaves bane to sip tat still breates, replied a sedode figure from T Grand Coalition. "'Tis as a signal. Or a trap," said Anoter. "Tay are not to be approached," said a fort. "Let it drift. We banished Tier memory for a reason." But curiosity was a virus T Galaxy had never cured. Commander Vexal of T Zentari Exploratory Corps was no historian, but he recognized ancient power when he saw it. When T first scans returned from T probe ED launched, he stared in disbelief. A vessel. Entirely carbon alloy framework. Yule density 10 times greater than standard warcruisers. No radiation leakage. No Yule break. And, most bizarre, an intact, perfectly preserved inner biosphere. Forests, artificial oceans. Cities built within a sip. Vexal leaned in as T visual feed zoomed toward one of T long sloped towers embedded near T core ring. Windows, lights, structures. Ancient signs of Earth standard design. Square symmetry, repeating geometry. Ting's no odor species built quite T same. "Get me inside," he ordered. His officers protested. "Sir, if 'tis his tem." "I know what it is," he growled, his four mandibles clicking. "We always knew T humans weren't truly dead. We just prayed Tay stayed tat way." Tay probe entered T sip trug a silent break vent, its microlights cutting trug absolute dark. What it saw defied every law of time. No rot. No decay. Preserved living quarters. Machines tat adient rusted. Gardens tat were frozen as if in suspended braid. And one camber, sealed, golden, umming with residual quantum energy. Inside tat camber, a humanoid figure. Still, sleeping. Not decomposed. Not mechanical. Alive. "Holy stars," Vexal whispered. "Tay kept someone alive in cryo for 22 sand years?" "No," his science officer's voice trembled. "Not just someone. Tay Sip is alive. Look." Tay Wall's stem cells began to ripple. Lights cascaded slowly along neural corridors. Fluid wires sifted like veins reawakening. Tay Revenant was not a vessel. It was a sentience. Millennia ago, humanity had vanished from T galactic stage. Some believed Tay destroyed themselves. Odors whispered Tay transcended, left for Eiger dimensions, turned inward to Machines. But no wreckage had ever been found. No trail. No proof. Until now. Tay Council ELD emergency sessions across 5 systems. Debates flared like novas. Do we destroy it before it fully awakens? Do we communicate? Do we prepare for a new war? Or worse, what if 'tis is only one of many? Aboard TUNS Revenant, power surged. Tay dormant AI came online with a whisper. System status, reboot sequence complete. Awake. Crew status, unknown. Primary mission, stand by until humanity returns. Alert, non-human presence detected. Somewhere within Tay vast structure, automated defense turrets and back to life. Doors sealed. Seals flickered awake like a predator stretching after a long sleep. Tay Sip was thinking. Watching. And remembering. Back in T Veltari Union, alarms echoed across war rooms. Dozens of species scrambled fighters to intercept. A vote was passed in a panic. Initiate first strike protocol. But as T fleet approached T Gostsip's sector, something apeen tat stopped Tem cold. A human signal, clear, ancient, precise, echoed from deep Witten T Revenant. A voice, unmistakably human, broadcast across all channels. Stand down. Tis is Terran Command Unit 01. We see you. Tier were no human colonies. No known human survivors. No registered fleet. So where at tat voice come from? Aboard T bridge T pod opened. Steam I seed. And from T camber rose a figure lean, armored, eyes glowing with augmented fire. A relic of Earth's lost military might, biotech merged with mind. He stepped forward. Looked around T bridge. Status? He asked the air. T-Sip replied in a deep, calm voice. Revenant operational. All systems online. Foreign entities approaching. Weapons calibrated. Soul we engage? He paused. Ten smiled. Wait. Let Tem come closer. Let Tem see what humanity left behind. Te galaxy had grown comfortable in humanity's absence. Comfortable believing Tier greatest predator was extinct. Tat Tier worlds were safe, now Tat Earth was dust and its children scattered. But T Revenant was not just a sip. It was a message. A declaration. Tat T silence was over. The silence didn't last long. As the humanoid figure stood at the helm of the UNS Revenant, systems booting around him like gods waking from ancient dreams, his neural interface linked with the ship's core fully. Memory fragments flickered across his mind, ghosts of war, loss, Earth's last transmission. He didn't flinch. Instead he took a slow breath. The first in 20 millennia. Name? The ship asked. The man's voice was a blend of gravel and steel. Commander Elias Voss. Terran Command Unit 01. He stepped forward, watching the stars bloom into clarity on the panoramic screen ahead. The incoming alien fleet shimmered like a wall of teeth, hundreds of vessels, triangular and curved in ways no human engineer would have allowed. They were ready for war. The Revenant was ready for something far worse. Commander Vexel could not breathe. He stood on the deck of his own cruiser, eyes locked on the impossible feed from the scout probe still transmitting from inside the Revenant. The human was awake. Awake and standing. And staring directly at the probe's location, despite no visible sensor lines or movement. He knows we're watching, murmured his lieutenant, a green-plated Zentari with trembling antennae. Vexel snapped his fingers. Shut down the probe. Now. It's not responding. Sir. The signal is being overridden. On the display the human smiled. And then he spoke. This is Commander Elias Voss. You're trespassing. The words echoed through every fleet vessel, every science ship, every listening outpost in range. This sector belongs to the Terran Dominion. Turn back or I'll assume hostile intent. Confusion erupted across communication channels. The Terran Dominion hadn't existed for 20,000 years. The last recorded Terran system had collapsed into a black hole after the final exodus. One of the Veltari captains, a scaled creature of political arrogance, spat into his mic. Human. Your dominion is dust. Your people are myth. You're alone. Elias Voss tilted his head, studying the alien's face on a new display. Am I? Behind the fleet, in the shadow of a dying star, something massive shimmered into view. Not one. Not two. 7. 7 colossal vessels emerged from stealth fields older than most civilizations. They bore no lights, no visible propulsion. Just black, hulking shapes with Terran registry numbers burned into their hulls like scars. UNS Juggernaut. UNS Bastion. UNS Goliath. UNS Nomad. UNS Dauntless. UNS Vindicator. UNS Silence. Each was larger than the Revenant. Each was powered. And each responded to the same old command line in a language none had spoken aloud in millennia. Wake protocol accepted, came a chorus of deep machine voices. Command chain verified, Elias Voss. Initiating combat sync. Panic erupted in the alien fleet. Some ships attempted to flee. Others angled for fire. Vexel's heart sank. This isn't just one ship. This is a goddamn Ark fleet. His science officer's screen blinked again. Sir, these aren't ships. Not just ships. The Revenant, it's organic mechanical. The others too. They've been evolving. Learning. He paused. They've been dreaming. Vexel took a shaky step backward. We should never have come here. We woke something that wasn't meant to wake. Inside the Revenant, Elias placed a hand on the central control column. The neural mesh around his spine glowed as his consciousness merged deeper into the ship's systems. Across the fleet, the other arcs began to open. Caskets hissed. Lights pulsed. And from the belly of each Terran vessel, figures emerged. Not billions. Not even thousands. Just hundreds. Sleeper agents. Commanders. Specialists. The last remnants of Earth's finest. Humans altered beyond mortality, frozen in tactical stasis for an age when they would be needed again. And now they stood tall, armored, armed, and expressionless. "Welcome back, family," Elias said softly into the fleet net. "We've got visitors." The alien fleet, in panic, opened fire. Lances of energy, neutron warheads, plasma clusters. Entire volumes of space lit up with deadly brilliance. But they were too slow. The Revenant shifted. It didn't turn, it flowed like liquid metal slicing through gravity itself. Its armor absorbed the first wave. Its shields rippled, then vanished, and something older activated. A black field, unnatural, enveloped the ship. A ripple of darkness that consumed energy like thirst. "What the hell is that?" cried a Zentari pilot. "Anti-reactive hull," muttered Vexel, stunned. "It's feeding off our weapons." Before they could regroup, Revenant returned fire. One pulse. A single beam of condensed singularity shot through 3 enemy destroyers, shearing them in half. No debris. No explosion. Just silence. But this wasn't war. It was a demonstration. Across the systems, messages echoed. Humanity has returned. We are not conquerors. We are not victims. We are memory. We left the galaxy so you could grow. But we are still its root. And now the root remembers. Species across the stars scrambled to understand the new reality. Were humans alive? Were these remnants just machines echoing their creators? On the moons of Salak 4, ancient archives long banned by the RHA were opened. Records of humanity's last galactic declaration were reviewed again. When we sleep, do not disturb us. When we wake, do not fear us. But if you harm what we protected, run. Back aboard the Revenant, Elias Voss stood still. His crew began to awaken fully, tactical operatives, engineers, minds once called demigods of war. None of them spoke loudly. They simply walked, checked systems, assumed positions. Humanity wasn't just back. It had planned its return. Status on the Council fleets? Elias asked. 53 vessels in scanning range. 19 retreating. 11 destroyed. The rest in defensive formation. Transmit again. Let's give them a choice. The message was simple. Humanity does not seek war. We seek legacy. Leave the sector. Tell your worlds, the ghosts are awake. And slowly the fleets began to back away. Not in obedience. In fear. Because they knew, if these 7 ships were only the beginning, if humanity had seeded more of them across the galaxy, then everything was about to change. On the outer edge of the system, cloaked beyond normal perception, a silent observer closed a data pad and whispered into a communicator. The Revenant has awakened. So has Elias Voss. Confirmed human survival. On the other end, a voice replied. Begin Phase 2. It's time we gather the rest. The stars themselves seemed to pulse in acknowledgement. Because scattered in long-forgotten orbits, buried beneath dead moons, and fused into the crusts of lifeless planets, more were sleeping. And soon they too would open their eyes. The stars rippled. Not from war or weapon, but memory. Like space itself was recalling what it once feared and loved in equal measure. Deep beneath the crust of shattered moons, beneath oceans gone black, across derelict ruins and long-dead satellites, dormant signals began to light up, ancient beacons placed not by any race alive today, but by hands from a forgotten age. Humanity's age. On board the Revenant, Elias Voss stood before the bridge's pulsar screen, watching dozens, hundreds, of pings emerge from across known space. Dull echoes once ignored by galactic historians now revealed their true shape. Sleeper seeds. Cradle caches. Terracore implants. Each was an arc. Each held something the galaxy thought extinct. How many? Elias asked calmly. The ship's AI, known as Echo, replied with mathematical certainty. Cradle signatures detected, 312 confirmed. Estimated activation range, 7 to 14 cycles. Interstellar wake-up protocols accelerating. Elias inhaled. Even his modified lungs quivered with the enormity. 312 human arcs. Each one holding a fragment of the old Dominion. Not just warriors, but Terra engineers, starrights, consciousness archivists. Pieces of a species that once burned across the void with unmatched ferocity and clarity. Echo, he said softly, what happens when they all wake up? The answer was not immediate. The galaxy will remember who lit the stars. The news reached the council faster than any ship could travel. Instantaneous dread, carried by FTL relay through the galactic nervous system. From the crystal courts of the Selenari to the spore cloud conclaves of the Jortak, a single question erupted in every chamber. What do we do? Some screamed for preemptive annihilation. Others demanded diplomacy. The boldest demanded to find every cradle and destroy it before it activated. But no one had the courage to approach Revenant again. Not after what it had done with one shot. And not after what was about to come next. The world of Theraxis 9 was not known for its history. A mining world stripped of culture, run by automation. Until a drill operator uncovered something buried beneath the deepest fault line. A shell. Massive. Not metal. Not stone. Something in between. The miners thought they'd struck an alien relic. Then it moved. Within 3 hours, Theraxis 9 lost contact with every orbital relay. Within 6, a Terran cradle ship rose from the crust, covered in rust and red dust, yet whole. Thrusters burned with solar-fed antimatter. Markings etched into its hull declared, UNS Exodus Prime, Earthline Colony Seed Vessel 004. Sir, that's the 4th activation this cycle, said a technician aboard the Revenant. Elias watched the feed. Silent. The newly awakened ship was moving. Not toward the Revenant. Not toward any council world. It was heading home. Echo confirmed it. Destination trajectory, Sol system. Plot and intercept, Elias ordered. But Earth is gone? Elias cut in. That's what they said. Now, I want to see for myself. The AI pulsed softly. Course set. Time dilation engaged. Fleet sync in progress. 7 ships turned in silent unison. Then disappeared into faster-than-light velocity, streaking like revenants across the dark. Earth had not been visited in 20,000 years. Most maps didn't even bother charting its system anymore. The official record, last confirmed, was simple. Earth, sterilized, uninhabitable, abandoned during the final exodus. But humans were notorious for rewriting endings. As the Revenant and its sister ships approached Sol's heliosheath, the stars grew brighter, as if remembering them. Mars passed in crimson silence. The asteroid belt shimmered with half-digested ruins of old mining guilds. And then, it spun slowly in the cradle of the sun. Blue, white, green, alive. Commander Elias Voss did not speak for a long time. The ship rotated to give full visual. Oxygen levels? He asked, almost unwilling to hope. 23.4% atmospheric saturation. No radiation contamination. Stable climate. Reseeded biosphere confirmed. No signs of orbital infrastructure. Echo paused. Sir, there are life signs. Human genetic signatures. Multiple continents. Structured populations. He stared stunned. No one came back, he whispered. No one was supposed to come back. Yet somehow someone had. Or perhaps, some had never left. They landed near what had once been the Appalachian Range. Forests taller than skyscrapers. Rivers so clean they refracted sky like mirrors. Above, satellites hovered, no orbitals. Organic mechanical watchers, grown, not built. The first team disembarked. Silent. No weapons raised. Just scanning gear. Light armor. And a fire in their eyes. What they found shocked them more than any war. A village. Human faces. Language variants they couldn't fully translate, but recognizable. Tools. Crops. Children. A woman stepped forward. Brown hair. Freckles. No implants. No tech. Just a calm voice and eyes that held something deeper than fear. We were told you'd come. Elias stepped forward. By who? She smiled faintly. By those who stayed behind. By the ones who remembered your names. The Cradle Initiative, once thought myth even by human strategists, had succeeded beyond imagination. Before the final exodus, a small group had refused to leave Earth. They had sealed their minds, their tools, and their warnings deep within the planet. A long-shot contingency in case everything else failed. And somehow, they'd thrived. Through storms, ice ages, cosmic radiation, somehow humanity had endured. Not in domes or bunkers. In the soil. In the DNA. In will. The galaxy had assumed silence meant extinction. But silence was just Earth's breath, before the roar. News spread like fire. The humans had returned to Earth. Not just warriors. Not just ships. people. And now, every cradle was following. A chain reaction. Ancient ships lit up like stars. Genetic memories embedded in the hull spoke. Coordinates shared. Maps activated. What once was scattered was becoming whole again. Inside a newly discovered vault near the remains of an old orbital elevator, Elias found a transmission log, 20,000 years old. The voice was cracked, weak, but clear. This is Admiral Kalen Dre. If you're hearing this, then the plan worked. Earth lives. We sealed the cradles with every fragment of what we were. Not for war. For rebirth. When they wake, teach them what it means to be human again. Elias closed his eyes. I will, he said. Then turned to the stars again. Because there was one last thing left to do. The galaxy had to be reminded. Not just that humanity was back, but that it had never truly left. Elias stood at the edge of the valley, overlooking a reborn Earth. Birdsong filled the air, real birds, not artificial symphony. The air smelled of pine and ancient stone. Below, the small village bustled. Children played beside slow-moving streams. Elders spoke in hybrid dialects. Fires burned in sacred circles where ancestors were remembered not with statues, but with stories. They had survived. Without orbital support, without AI, without augmentation. Pure. Human. Enduring. Elias Voss, forged in war and ice, enhanced beyond mortality, felt small. And then the child approached. Barefoot, covered in dust, hair wild, no older than 6. He looked up at the armored giant and said plainly, "Are you one of the ghosts?" Elias knelt. "No," he said quietly. "I'm one of the ones who forgot." The cradles awoke across the stars. Not all were warships. Some were libraries. Others, terraforming seeds. Some contained only minds, human consciousnesses encoded in crystalline memory. Others held art, music, language. One orbiting a dead gas giant contained a single tree and a voice that whispered lullabies in over 1,000 languages. The galaxy watching had no words. The Veltari ambassador, once an advocate for humanity's erasure from history, now begged for audience. The Selenari Empress, oldest ruler in known space, sent a delegation. Gifts. Apologies. Elias Voss stood before their emissaries at Earth's orbital edge, where a vast ring had begun to form, a station not for war but unity. "We don't want revenge," he told them. "We don't need conquest." "Then, what do you want?" the Selenari envoy asked. Elias turned, and from behind him, Earth filled the view. "To be left alone," he said. "And if not that, to be understood." But not all species were willing to accept this quiet return. On the edge of the expanse, the Vorn Dominion, warlike and proud, declared humanity a galactic threat. They launched a preemptive strike against one of the cradle worlds, a dormant ark orbiting a brown dwarf in the Corellian sector. They expected an easy victory. They found hell instead. The ark ship was not a fortress, it was a historian. Its only weapon, memory. As the Vorn fleet entered firing range, the historian activated. Not with missiles or beams, but with pure data. A blast of ancient war records, psychic echoes of battles past, transmitted directly into enemy minds. Thousands of Vorn soldiers suffered immediate neurocollapse. Those who survived were haunted forever by visions of human resilience. A lone Terran soldier standing against armies, cities rebuilt after annihilation, children laughing in the ruins. The Vorn fell back in terror, their leader muttering only, "They don't fight with weapons. They fight with remembrance." Inside the new orbital ring around Earth, dubbed Souls Whisper, the cradle minds were gathering. Not just the soldiers, the poets, the philosophers, the children of Mars-born architects. The minds who had shaped the galaxy once and chose silence instead of dominion. They were not returning to take. They were returning to remind. Across the galaxy, a movement began. Young species, once told humanity was a myth, now looked at the stars with reverence. Even among old enemies, something shifted. The Council of Rhator passed a rare decree: humanity is to be left unchallenged. A Selenari singer composed a symphony titled, "The Breath of Earth." The Zentari etched the face of Elias Voss onto the ice of their moon, not in fear, in awe. And on a world that had not known light in 5,000 years, an artificial sun was ignited, by a Terran cradle seeded with hope. Elias Voss stood once more at Earth's surface. The sun rose across mountains that had watched humanity fall, and now rise again. Echo pulsed inside his neural link. All cradle ships have confirmed synchronization. Legacy project at 92% completion. Starpath relay initializing. He looked up at the sky where hundreds of trails streaked, ships arriving not to colonize but to reconnect. Some carried Terrans awakening from stasis. Others carried species who had once feared the name human, and now sought to understand it. A new age was coming. And it would not begin with conquest. It would begin with a story. A monument stood now at the heart of New Appalachia. Simple. Made of ancient steel and river stone. Carved into it were words translated into every galactic language. We went silent so the galaxy could speak. But we never stopped listening. Terran command. And below it, one final inscription burned into the stone by plasma torch. Humanity did not vanish. We became the stars. In the end, the Revenant remained in orbit. A guardian, yes, but also a reminder. That silence is not weakness. That waiting is not surrender. And that humanity, when it rises again, does so with the weight of memory behind it. And this, friends of the stars, was the day the galaxy learned the truth. The ghosts had not died. They had returned. If this story lit your imagination, Milky Way, subscribe to the Void Narratives for more epic human legends, interstellar awakenings, and high-stakes sci-fi that proves humanity never just survives. We endure, we remember, and we return. Until the next one. In a black speech bubble. Stay awake.